Hey, this is Gerry Visca, the publisher of Defyeneurs, and welcome to the Simplify issue. This is the final issue for 2017, and this is an issue I've been wanting to publish for 3 years because the world needs to simplify. And this is probably the most exciting day for me because we are live with Mike Greenly of New York. This is probably the most profound speechwriter I have ever met. He's a speech coach and an award-winning lyricist. Mike, welcome to Defyeneurs.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I am so excited. I think this is your first Zoom interview, first of all, which is even cooler. And, you know, your work is just, it has spanned quite a few years in such a profound way. You have done it all. You have been published. You have written. You've done it all. So I'm excited about this interview. You excited?
I'm jazzed.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So there's a quote you share, Mike, that I want to kick off, and it goes like this. My personal growth and progress was possible only after learning to love and accept myself, which simplifies everything. When I read that, I was actually brought to tears, and I think that's what makes your work so connected to people. So share with us, what does life simplified mean to you, Mike? And why is it essential to personal growth?
So I have to share my backstory, who I am, because it was that journey that brought me to here. So I grew up on a little island off the coast of South Carolina. It was mostly or largely a Southern Baptist town. This was decades ago. I was born into a Jewish family. So there were not many Jews in town. And I was different right away for that reason. I also skipped a grade. I skipped the second grade, so I was younger than everybody and different. And I heard what it was like to be called the dirty Jew boy, and to have people ask me in all sincerity if Jews were born with a devil's tail. And I had swastikas carved into my locker, and people telling me, I get back in touch with those feelings right now.
Yeah.
People telling me, die, Jew boy, that kind of thing.
Wow.
So in recess in elementary school, where you're supposed to go out and play, I would hide in the bushes because I didn't have any friends to play with. In high school, I determined I was going to be popular. And so I went on what I would now call, I'm a former marketing exec. So I now would say it was a marketing campaign. And so I became, at our senior year, you're voted a superlative. I was voted most popular. But it wasn't me, the real me, who was popular. It was this persona that would shift to try to please anybody I was with. And as a result of not feeling like my own authentic self, by the time I got to college, my family didn't have money. I was at Duke University on a Duke scholarship. You had to maintain dean's list grades. I was so anxious that I was put on probation because I was just getting C's. And they said, they gave me an intelligence test. You're smart enough, you should be getting A's. But I wasn't. It was my anxiety. And I remember walking along the Duke campus and thinking it would be just easier for everybody if I just swallowed sleeping pills and just left the earth. I just felt like a worthless wretch. In order to keep my scholarship, or try to, they recommended psychotherapy, and it changed my life. It was a long journey because I've had psychoanalysis. Actually, I have training as a psychotherapist myself. I was going to quit corporate life. I moved to New York and became an executive. I was going to quit corporate life and become a full-time shrink when Avon made me the youngest VP in their history. I couldn't turn it down. So I stayed there and I progressed in my own therapy and became now somebody, my friends call me the most earnest person on the Eastern Seaboard, and I'm a little offended. Why are they limiting my geography just to the Eastern Seaboard? I've become somebody who enjoys saying what I mean and meaning what I say, and just accepting myself for who I am. And I now realize that in order to grow, and I've grown so much from that poor little boy in South Carolina, you can't grow and change unless you first accept the reality of where you're at and who you are. And my own embracing of my authentic self, I'm gay as well. And that was a hard struggle to come to terms with. I didn't ask to be. People who say that gays choose to be gay. They don't know anything. Why would you choose to be somebody who's oppressed and looked down on? I wouldn't. But as I accepted my reality, then I could really start to grow. And I now, although I didn't become a psychotherapist, I do sometimes counsel friends. And it always starts with, start with the truth. Really face the truth. Then you can grow beyond that. That was very profound for me to accept myself. And I'm still growing. And I'm going to keep growing.
Beautiful. That's so profound. You know, you really honor us, Mike, by sharing your journey and being vulnerable. And that's what I admire. It's one of the many things I admire about you. But I'm taking notes feverishly here because I love what you said, face the truth. You know, I love that you accepted who you are, you accepted your reality. But it's inspiring to me to see how you took your adversity, you took your challenge, you took these challenges and you channeled it into passion. You know, you were a very successful executive, and you've channeled this amazing passion. There's another quote you share, and it's a segue into what you're sharing. As an exec myself, I made the journey from stage fright to competence. So I want to get into, Mike, how is your passion helping to simplify others? Now, there's 3 major segments that you're involved with. You know, you're an extraordinary speechwriter, profound speechwriter. You're also a speech coach and you're a lyricist. So how is that passion helping to simplify others?
Well, they all involve words.
Right.
And as I sometimes say, although people have told me it's a dated reference, but I'm somebody who can barely change a light bulb. And if I get a flat tire, I'm in trouble. You know, fortunately, I live in Manhattan. I don't really drive very much anymore. But words are my friends. And if I'm writing a speech for an executive, I help that executive get across his or her message in the most effective and clear way. So in a way, I guess I'm helping to simplify that person's life by helping them communicate what they want to communicate. And the same thing is true as a speech coach. I was given now, as I've shared, my lack of confidence growing up, to stand in front of an audience and present was just terrifying. In fact, I've seen research on it. There's a certain segment of the population who literally would rather die than to stand up in front of an audience. I happen to have a low threshold of pain. I tell my dentist use the best possible Novocaine. Some people would rather go to the dentist than to stand up in front of people. And I've transformed myself from being afraid to stand on stage to being able to embrace, this is who I am, this is my message, and it's important to me to share it with you. So a speech or anything I write, a video script for a company's launch, whatever, always is about conveying a message, and that essentially uses words. And the same thing is true when I write song lyrics. A song or a speech or anything has to have a guiding star, a point of view that you want to get across. What I've observed is the most common mistake that people make, whether it's in communicating, whether it's a PowerPoint or an advertisement or a speech, is to try to convey too many things at once. And that's why before I write anything for anybody, whether it's a song for an artist or a speech for an executive, I first get really clear, what is the one takeaway message you want to most get across? Then together, we're going to get that into the minds of the audience.
Okay, that's fantastic. I love that. One takeaway message. I want to stay in that a bit because I love how you're clarifying. I love how you cut right to the chase. You clear the way. What do you think is an executive's greatest challenge when it comes to their own speech, trying to write their own speech? What are you finding there?
They're too close to it. And not everybody. There are certainly some executives who can do that, but I've often had executives tell me that after I've worked with them, that I made them clearer than they expected to be, and they can see that the message is clearer. In fact, I have a tagline that I use in my Google ads, which is sound like yourself, only better. And I feel like that's the added value that I bring. And that incorporates, if I'm writing a speech for you, you're going to sound like you, not like me, but better than you would. And the same thing is true if it's a video script, whatever it is, or in coaching you. If I'm coaching an executive, it's about delivering your message in a way that lets the audience know you mean it, that you're not distracted by your own nervousness, that I help you master it so that then they can go straight from here to the minds of the audience.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Sound like yourself, but only better. That is just profound. You know, I encourage any executive listening to this interview to reach out, because, you know, a speech, as you know, Mike, a speech can win over hearts. A speech can create peace in the world. A speech is so impactful. And I think if an executive is working with someone that has so much experience like yourself, that they're just going to make their speech better. You know, they're going to sound like themselves, but only better. So I think that's great. There's another quote you share, and it's fantastic. Clarity is simplicity's first cousin. I love that. So let's stay on that. How do you help the world simplify around the speech coaching? Tell me a bit about the speech coaching, how you're simplifying in that area.
Well, one thing that's true about my work, Avon had a no questions asked guarantee. So if you bought a aftershave cologne that you didn't like, you could hand back the empty bottle to a representative 10 years later. It was, at that time, it was no questions asked.
Wow.
And you would say to the customer, I'm so sorry you didn't like the fragrance. Let me take back that empty bottle. And you're not supposed to say, what'd you do, drink it? Instead, you say, let me have that back. And which would you rather do? Shall we go back in our records and find what you paid 12 years ago and give you a refund, or go through the catalog and pick something else? So I took that guarantee, 100% guarantee with me. I never want a penny unless I've delighted my client. First of all, it's good business. It helped Avon become, at the time, the world's largest. Secondly, that's just who I am. I can't stand to disappoint somebody. So if somebody asks me to write something that is not in my wheelhouse, for example, I can be fun, I can be charming, but I cannot be a comedy writer. I cannot make them roll in the aisles with laughter. I'll just decline the job rather than accept it and disappoint somebody. So my point is, you asked me how would I help an executive simplify. I start by making sure that I can support whatever that takeaway message is. So for me personally, I don't happen to write for tobacco executives because I worry about the effect of tobacco on people's health. That's my choice. So, but once I'm in, I'm totally in.
Yes.
And the fact that my work is guaranteed is just behind that. And then it's really just a process of finding what is the message, the core message. And then always in corporate life, for a product launch, let's say, there are subpoints. That's fine. They just all have to line up in the same way. So when I was at Lever Brothers, a division of Unilever, and I was working on detergent, I learned that if the color of paint, in the just inert paint, in the box of detergent was blue, people would pull out the wash and think, oh, it's whiter. But if you just change the color of the paint to green, they pull it out, oh, it smells fresher. And what that's about is, what that taught me was, if you have a guiding star, meaning the takeaway message, then everything in the communication needs to support that and drive it home. Even the details, the way that you convey them, always are mindful of what's the takeaway message. That makes everything simple. It makes it clear if you stay focused on the message.
I love it. I love it. Again, it's coming back to that clarity, that core message. And that's where I find your work very profound. You know, it's my understanding that your clients really enjoy, from what I've seen, they really enjoy the process. It's that process that you've simplified and how to work with them. And I think even though your speeches are profound, it's that process. So how can a new executive listening to this that hasn't worked with you yet, how can you simplify them getting in touch with you and starting to work with you? Maybe they're a bit nervous because they feel they have to have it all figured out. Tell me about that.
I mean, that's where I find I have an advantage by having been a corporate executive myself. Excellent. I came to New York to be a playwright. They weren't hiring them, so I got into business. At least now I could afford theater tickets. What I do when I work with an executive is to create a safe space where the executive can then learn to trust and tell me the truth, including the things that they want the audience not to be focused on. It's important to share that with me. Clairol, I think, used to say, share with your hairdresser. So it's like that, a private session. Speeches by committee don't work nearly as well as when I can talk to the subject matter expert, which I never am. I'm just a communications expert. So what I do is create a space, and I interview the executive with like stereo ears. One ear is listening on behalf of the executive. what's the point that he or she most wants to get across? And what are the subpoints that line up like those speckles in the paint? The other ear is listening from the point of view of the audience. Is this clear what the executive is telling me? Is it making sense? Do I spot a potential conflict, in which case I'll explore it so that we can smooth it out before I even do the writing? And what I've flattered to have gotten a number of letters from clients thanking me for my work. And what it always is about is creating a relationship of trust where they can tell me the truth of what they want to get across. And where they understand that I'm there on their side. So when I ask a question that's challenging, that wasn't so clear, let's explore that. I help them know that I'm on their side. And I'm just lucky that I've found my purpose in life, and that the people that I work with seem to find it valuable to help them further their purposes in life.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I love that. I love how you create that safe space and that you strive to create the safe space. I want to move a bit into your work as a lyricist. Now, this is exciting. Like, you're full of passion. One only needs to look at you and know that you're a passionate entrepreneur, or really a passionate definer. So you've won some awards. Your work is really starting to gain some global recognition. Tell me a bit about the work as a lyricist.
Well, I've got words. If I could sing, or if I could perform a musical instrument, I would be dangerous. But I've got words. Okay, that's my thing. So it's about collaboration. Sometimes a composer will give me, that was my first Billboard charted song. Jim Papoulis, a famous choral composer, had an idea for a song, something about people just getting up. Well, that became a song called Get Up. And it was my first charted Billboard song, and it's about getting up and doing something in the world. It's always, it really is the same as writing a speech. I was honored to be asked to write a song in memory of the kids and faculty who had their lives lost at Sandy Hook Elementary School. And again, the composer said something about angels, because these kids are gone, but they're still angels. And what I wrote was "Always My Angel." I'm touched by it because of the circumstance, but also I wrote it not just to be about those kids, but about anybody who's lost something.
Yes.
So it's always about it's same as the speeches, finding a truth, and then finding a way to convey it in the most impactful way with my friends, the words.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I love how you are collaborative. It's about collaboration.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you're writing an incredible speech, while you're coaching, you're writing as a lyricist, you're always focused on collaboration. Yes. You've got some cool projects on the go. So I want you to have this chance to talk about some of your current work. Share with us what's happening in Mike Greenly's universe right now.
Well, the Grammys are coming up, and my second #1 song is called "My Fire." It became #1 on the Billboard dance chart this summer. Awesome. And it's a similar thing. It's about finding your inner fire and expressing it to the world and sharing it with others. And I'm so lucky because this song comes from Nile Rodgers, who's a major icon in music. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Billboard called him one of the top 100 dance artists of all time, along with Tony Moran, who was also voted that way for Billboard, along with Kimberly Davis, who has an amazing voice. So I'm just lucky to be in this package. So I'm hoping for a Grammy nomination. In addition, this is my passion, using words to make a difference. So I go to networking events of songwriters. And as a result of that, I was invited to be part of and co-produce a new age music album that's coming out. And I'm hoping it's called Aurora. And I worked with Alejandro Zamora on it. And I'm hoping that might be considered for a Grammy. And the recognition would be wonderful, but it would also just be further encouragement. I don't think anything can stop me, but I wouldn't mind a little more gas in the tank too, to do what I love and what I think I'm really meant for.
That's very, very exciting. It's very exciting. I got to say, I'm personally honored and excited to join you, because you and I, as you know, will be launching a Why Write intensive for inspired writers. It's a tour that I'm taking across North America, but we get to do it together, you and I.
Yes.
And this is a chance for 50 writers to join you and I and to see all this great work that you're up to. Are you excited about that?
I certainly am. So it's December 2, a
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon in Manhattan, New York City, at a very nice Marriott Hotel on Lexington Avenue, so very not far from Grand Central, so it's a convenient location. As you said, it's limited to 50 writers, and they don't have to be existing writers.
Right.
All they have to do is feel some kind of calling, some kind of interest in writing. And all I'm doing is I'm the local New York host, but I've never had the chance to speak to 50 people who are interested in writing, who share that interest. I've spoken to 5,000 people, very diverse, but 50 people who care about writing, I'm just really excited about it.
Yes.
And I think it's going to, as words have unlocked my life, I think it's going to unlock some of their lives and let them express themselves too, help them to do that.
Yeah, we're really honored. And we get to round this out with the support of Deb Crow, a very good friend of yours.
Wonderful.
Wonderful, wonderful lady author, and my life partner and editor, Angela Kontgen. So the four of us, really get to help people align their passion with writing. And like you said, they're coming from all walks of life. They want to learn how to engage and how to connect with people's hearts. This is the time. So, Mike, as we move into this final question, this question always is emotional for me. So I'm going to try to get through with it without getting too emotional. But you've contributed to the richness of so many people's lives. You've contributed to movements. You've contributed to the music industry. You've contributed to some of the most profound speeches. You've been a successful executive. You've seen it all. And I believe your best work is just about to happen. I want to know, what will the world say about Mike Greenly years from now? How did Mike Greenly live his life?
Well, one of my key mantras in life is continuous self-improvement. That's right here. I want to keep getting better. So I always welcome honest feedback. How can anybody improve if people don't tell them the truth? And I tell you, I'm a better writer today than I was 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and I'm going to be a better writer 2 years from now. And it comes from following one's passion, being open to keep learning. I want to be remembered as someone who was not only a fine writer, but who used his gift, that little gift for words, to make the world better. I'll give you one example that comes to my mind that I'm really proud of. So a song I wrote called "We Can Plant a Forest" is responsible for 50,000 seedlings to be planted in underdeveloped countries where they don't have the resources and they're stripped by industry, their forests are. And this is for a nonprofit organization, Trees for the Future, that replants. So that's just an example. I've tried to use my songwriting to benefit worthy nonprofits and use the one major gift I have to contribute not just to an executive's career, which I care about, having been one, but also to the world at large. All I can say is I'm determined to be better and to keep on doing that.
It's amazing. I absolutely am blown away. I call this profile Motivation Guaranteed. Mike Greenly of New York, speechwriter, speech coach, lyricist. Mike, on behalf of Defyeneurs and everyday people worldwide doing extraordinary things, I want to thank you for bringing your incredible wisdom, your experience, and your light to this issue of Defyeneurs. Thank you so much.
My privilege. Thank you.